Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let me take you back one morning in 1993, around my teenage years when I was 15, sitting in a school assembly hall in England with school uniform. Uh, student kept, student kept chatting, and the school teacher, Mr. Brailsford, is talking. I've stopped listening. Then a song starts playing over the speakers, a slow, aching guitar, a voice that sounds like it already knows something we don't. Everybody hurts. The entire assembly hall went still. Nobody told us to. That song reached through the noise and held us there. I didn't understand why. I just knew the world felt heavier and more honest than anything the teacher had ever said. That was over 30 years ago. Everybody hurts, tells a truth we spend our lives living trying to forget. Suffering is not a malfunction. We know this, but we forget. We get too busy and tangled. We look away until life grabs us by collar one day and says, remember. During my teenage years, understanding pain is like reading about ocean. You know it's deep, but you've never been pulled under. Pain was a breakup, a failed exam, the feeling you didn't fit. Real enough, but shallow water. You could always stand up. Fast forward 3 decades later. Over the last 3 years, I watched the ocean pull somebody under. My own grandparents, the two strongest people I've ever known, slowly becoming fragile inside a world they built. It arrived with a whisper, a forgotten name, a stumble on stairs that used to be effortless. My mother of seven, who used a mother of seven who used to run a household like a field general, was bedridden, surrounded by four walls, struggling with things she used to do without thinking at all. On the other hand, my grandpa, who never complained about anything, winces getting out of the chair and pretends he doesn't. You know, and I stand there watching, knowing the strongest hands I've ever held can no longer hold mine back. Then comes the guilt. Nobody wants nobody warns you about the guilt of a healthy body to while theirs fails, of not visiting enough, of visiting and not knowing even what to say in that situation. We all know aging happens, but we know it in the way the earth orbits around the sun. As a fact, that doesn't touch us until one afternoon you're in their living room and the truth hits you so hard that you barely breathe. In that moment, watching someone hurt in ways we cannot fix there and then, I heard the echoes of the song again, not from the speaker, but somewhere inside within me. The same four words carrying the weight of everything I witnessed. The song hadn't changed, but I did. 30 years had turned a melody into a mirror. On the other side now, as people say, someone once told me basically, laughter is the best medicine. Lovely idea, isn't it? Until you've seen the hospital bill. If laughter were covered by insurance, comedy clubs would need a doctor's referral, and waiting up to 6 weeks. But humor and pain are neighbors. That's not denial. That's defiance. This song still matters because suffering can be seen in different forms, different ways, and different shapes. At teenage years, it's something that was like kind of awareness. Decades later, it's watching the people who build the world grow fragile inside. The ache is the same. The need to hear, hold on, that never changes. So let me end where I began. That assembly hall where teenagers were hearing the song, they didn't understand. They know now life is not permanent. The people you love will not always be there, and there will be days when the weight feels heavy and unbearable. That's not a weakness. That's the cost of loving anyone at all. And it's worth every second. When you're hurting, sit with it. When you see someone else hurting, a grandparent, stranger, or a teenager who doesn't know yet what's coming, be the song. Be the voice that says you're not alone. Your presence, your patience, your willingness to stay, that is everything. Everybody hurts. Let's stop forgetting it. Hold on. Thank you.